So how do we do this thing called transformation? Well, the first thing that I want to say is that transformation it happens in the in-between times. It happens in those times when we're just getting ready to step out of an old way of being, but we really haven't found our footing in the new way yet. This is an uncomfortable time, and we tend to try and rush ourselves through these uncomfortable in-between times instead of embracing them and living them like we should, because the in-between is the point of power. The in-between is the place of all potential. Anything can happen in the in-between. And so this is why it's so very important to manage this time consciously. So how do we do that? Well, just like there are many paths to the one, there are also many roads that will take us through and to transformation. So I just have a few suggestions. There are things that have worked in my life. The very first suggestion I have is to take small steps. Jillian Michaels, who was a personal trainer on The Biggest Loser for several seasons, wrote that transformation is not 5 minutes from now. It is a present activity. In this moment, you can make a different choice. And it's these small choices and successes that build up over time. And isn't that true? So today, making the decision to conceive, to create a larger vision for yourself and your life, that is your first step. And once that decision is made, the task then becomes to make small choices every day to propel you in the direction of your vision. I can tell you that for me, the first step that I took towards ministry was to take a Science of Mind 100 class. And then another, and then another. 1 foot in front of the other is what ultimately wins the race. So my second suggestion for you is a little bit more difficult than that. It's to look deeply into your darkened places. Now by that I don't mean that you mire yourself in your pain and suffering, but as an observer, shed light. And by shedding light on those darkened places, find a new level of understanding so that you can let go. Alan Cohen wrote, "Sacred and scared are spelled with the same letters. Awful proceeds from the same root word as awesome. Terrified and terrific. Every negative experience holds the seed of transformation. Holds the seed of transformation. But you know, you cannot find that seed if you don't look at that experience. If you don't hold it up to the light and turn it over and bathe it in love and understanding. I know for myself, before I could even begin to step into my larger vision for myself, I had to let go of a lot of stuff from my past. And you know, you can't let go of things if you won't even acknowledge that they're there. So I had to face my fears. I had to face those parts of myself that I didn't like. I had to look at those wounded places inside of me and see them with a new understanding. Rumi says, don't turn away. Keep your eyes on the wounded place. That is where the light enters. Isn't that beautiful? Allow the light to shine into the darkened spaces, and from that new place of understanding, you can then begin to hear what Spirit is calling you to do. So, my next suggestion for you is forgiveness and surrender, and I put those two together because for me, they always seem to go together. Now, Iyanla Vanzant, who is the keynote speaker in New Orleans this week, wrote, "Forgive yourself for believing that anyone who occupies this flesh form as a human being could in any way alter the truth of your being. Once you've done that, it will be easy to forgive anyone for anything, particularly if you're holding them hostage for making human mistakes." And isn't that true? We hold people hostage. And you know, we all know that forgiveness isn't about the other person. Forgiveness is about releasing myself from my past. I know that when I hang on to anger or hurt, every time I think about the experience that brought that up, I reopen that wound. I poke at it and I keep it open and painful and raw. Until I began to forgive myself and others. I didn't even realize how much energy I was leaking out of those wounded places, which kept me weak. By forgiving, I allow that wounded place to be and to heal, so that I can move forward from a place of strength. Dan Millman wrote, first I'm going to tell you about surrender. Surrender is about getting out of our way and allowing God to work through us unimpeded. And surrender, just like forgiveness, requires that I totally accept where I am and who I am right here and now in this moment, body, mind, and spirit. You see, I know that regardless of what I think I have to offer the world, or what I think I don't have to offer the world, God has a larger vision for my life. And because God has a larger vision for my life, I always know that God will find a way to work with me as I am, right here and now. So I don't have to change who I am in order to allow God to transform through me. Dan Millman wrote that far more than passive acceptance, surrender uses every challenge as a means of spiritual growth and expanded awareness. Surrender uses every challenge as a means of spiritual growth. I always thought that surrender was sort of weak sounding. It's like giving up. But you know, surrender is neither passive nor weak. It is active and strong. It's not like falling backwards off a cliff. It's like turning around and intentionally diving into the ocean. It is purposeful, and it's a tool for transformation and change. My fourth suggestion for you is to learn to love it all, including and especially yourself. And I say especially yourself because you are your first point of contact with the divine. I truly believe that until you fall in love with that divine spark within you, you can't fully give yourself to life. And that Fox wrote, if you could only love enough, you could be the most powerful person in the world. What do you think he meant by that? Well, I think one of the things he meant by that was that a person who loves everything and everyone, including themselves, unconditionally, is always in a place of joy and peace and gratitude. And it's that place of joy and peace and gratitude that magnetically attracts our good to us. Imagine how powerful you would be if you were always attracting your good. You see, I believe that love is the most powerfully attractive force in the universe. Love is the most powerfully attractive force in the universe. Just imagine for yourself right now, if you could love everything in your life, everything you see, unconditionally, deeply. Imagine if every time you looked in the mirror or spoke to yourself, you did it with overflowing, overwhelming love. Imagine if you could see behind all the circumstances in the world around you and just know their divine truth. And as such, be able to just be enchanted and enraptured by life, always. Enchanted and enraptured by life. That is the essence of God. There is nothing more powerful. And speaking of the essence of God, my next suggestion for you is to own your birthright as a child of God, because you are the essence of God. Ernest Holmes wrote, there is that within us which partakes of the divine being. And since it partakes of the nature of the divine being, we are divine. a little over a year ago, I wrote a few pages worth of intentions, and these intentions became very powerful for me. I began each one with, as a fearless child of Source. And I tell you, I did not feel fearless at the time. I felt anything but I wanted to be fearless. And when I wrote these intentions, I looked at them and I thought, well, these really feel like they're outside of my reach. But I'm going to tell you a few of these. I'll just read a few of them for you, because I want you to see how present and true they are now, only a year later. As a fearless child of Source, I write, I speak, and I share. I inspire others with what I share, even when it's personal, uncomfortable shadow work. Done. I am doing that. As a fearless child of Source, fearless, I actively build a consciousness of health and strength and beauty and perfect function. Now, a little over a year ago, I weighed about 50 pounds more than I do now. I've lost 50 pounds. I have become much stronger and healthier. And I think I am probably stronger and healthier than I have been in my entire adult life. So this is happening. As a fearless child of Source, I am on a path of continual learning, and so I embrace educational opportunities that align with my goals and values and purpose. And it is that intention which brought me to Kelowna to study ministry. It brought me to Kelowna to do the impossible. Because I'll tell you, if you had asked me a year ago, would I be moving my entire life, dropping everything in Manitoba and moving to Kelowna to study ministry, I would have told you were crazy. I would have said, there's no way, that's impossible, I can't do that. And yet here I am. Here I am. We are all children of Source. We are made of the substance of God. And right here and now, God is living and breathing and feeling and thinking through our skins. What experience of life are you giving God? We are more powerful than we imagine. And I know that because I live it every day. My final suggestion for you is practice. Return to my first suggestion and go through them all over again and do it again and again. Practice making small choices. Practice looking into your darkened places. Practice forgiveness and surrender. Practice loving everything, especially yourselves. Practice knowing your divine truth. You do it again and again and again. This is spiritual practice. Because eventually, you begin to assimilate that higher truth for yourself. And pretty soon you begin to feel and act transformed. And then you turn around and you see that your life is changing all around you. And your light, your inner light, shines brighter by the minute. And something new and beautiful and wonderful is born within you. That is transformation working. I'm going to end this with a quote from Ernest Holmes. This is my favorite quote from The Science of Mind. He says, "We may stumble, but always there is that eternal voice forever whispering within our ear, that thing which causes the eternal quest, that thing which forever sings and sings." Namaste.